more
This
than 15
conference
years
will
now.
now be recorded.
All right, thank you. So I've been into IT industry for more than 15 years now, and I have worked on different technologies, different Microsoft technologies, the latest being on Azure. Uh, I worked on system center products, Exchange, and a lot of automation as well using the PowerShell. I'm a certified professional on AWS, Azure, and I have also certified on Kubernetes. I've been providing IT trainings for more than 7 years now. I have taken different courses. I've trained people on different curriculum, different courses, and the key courses that I've been taking up is Azure, AWS, and Docker and Kubernetes. Other than this, I take training sessions on PowerShell, Python, right? And a few times I take into Hyper-V classes as well. So this is quick intro about myself. So if you guys can introduce about yourself, what stream you guys are working in, write your background, and what is your expectation from this training, that will help you.
Yes, let me start with myself. My name is Nawaz, and I did my graduation from in computer science, and right now I'm choosing Azure as my career. So my background is a little bit programming, web development, and about the ETL. Yeah, and my aim is to get the Azure administrator kind of job. So that's why I joined this session.
Okay, thank you, Nawaz. Do we have Sachin?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, hi. Yeah, my name is Sashi, and I do have like 15 years experience in IT, and I'm working on like different technologies. Like I started my career as a mainframes, and then I moved into BI. So I'm working at the moment as a BI architect. So I worked on like BI, like different tools like Informatica, OBI, ODI, OBIA, and even like I do have good experience on AWS as well. So just like for a change, like I want to move to Azure. I do have little experience on Azure, but not that much.
Okay, thanks, Sachin.
Yes, Sanjay.
Right. Fine. So it was nice to know the expectation of this training, because it will help us to pick up the right pace and right set of examples, right? Because Azure being nowadays all the cloud platforms, they have got huge list of services, isn't it? And you guys might be aware of it. Now, Azure is one of the leading cloud provider where you have more than 150 services, right? So this agenda that we're trying to set here is to make sure the administration of Azure is covered as part of this curriculum, right? And we'll try to make sure we cover most of these services, or we can call it most of the core services of Azure, right? And we'll give you a real-time scenario examples. Also we'll deal with the hands-on labs, right? That will give you a confidence level to deal with Azure services into your day-to-day life, right? So to start with, let's quickly go to our next slide. Right, so since we are into cloud codes here, so we'd like to know what is a cloud computing. And before we start, what's a cloud computing? Let's start with the term called cloud. So can any of you explain or define the term cloud? What do you mean or understand by the term cloud?
Yeah, cloud in the sense like where like we'll be having all our server setup or some kind of services or everything on some other platform where like we won't take care of those setup, those services or anything like that. So which means like we'll just install and configure our application whatever we need, and rest everything they'll be managed by the respective team.
Fair enough. Okay. Nawaz, would you like to give it a shot?
Yes, for me, it's the kind of setup in which you don't have the hardware with you. It's somewhere in the other part of the world, but you can access that all the facilities of the hardware infrastructure, and you can utilize it without having on premises.
Okay, good. Right. So what you guys have defined or stated there, it's close to what cloud is all about, right? But you might also have heard people saying a cynical answer that it is just someone else's computer, right? When you talk about compute cloud, you might
Right.
hear this term more frequently, saying it's just that someone else's computer. Now that's a funny answer anyways, but
Right.
the definition of cloud has always changed. It's not been static, or there is no hard definition of a cloud. It keeps on changing over the years, right? At one point it merely meant something available over an internet connection. So that something could be a server, it could be a database, or it could be any other services. So that service which is available over an internet connection is what called as cloud, right?
Yes.
Nowadays the cloud is the new way of thinking about system architecture, right? And the definition is redefined every month. Trust me, it is redefined every month. Now there is a plenty of thought given on cloud patterns. We'll deal with that slowly in our future sessions. But the best way is to build systems distributed across many data centers, right? That is what the cloud is all about. So if you ask me, it is a more like a virtual data center, just like you guys have mentioned. It's a virtual data center. It is something which you don't own physically, but you have resources provisioned, managed, and administered by you or by the team that is managed by you. So it's more like a virtual data center. And what does this virtual data center has to offer? So this virtual data center basically delivers compute services like network, servers, storage, softwares, etc. All these compute services are delivered over an internet. So this is more a broader picture of cloud computing, right? So cloud computing. Fair enough. So we got to know the terms, right? What's a cloud? What's a cloud computing? Now, what's a cloud computing benefits? Why do I need to move to a cloud? Why not I stick with the data center that I have got? Or why not I go with a co-location kind of a setup? So what benefit do I get with the cloud computing? Right? So the presentation shows you 5 or 6 benefits, but this is not the all, right? These are the most commonly used or showcased benefits, right? But there are many more or many other benefits that are available of cloud computing. So first thing is cost. Now, every organization deals with cost, isn't it? Now, when I say, okay, you have an on-premises data center, right, and you have physical servers, right, and tomorrow you need to expand your application from X amount of physical servers to a Y amount of physical servers. Now, let's take 50 servers we need, for example. Now, what is the cost involved in provisioning those 50 servers? That's the first question. So the upfront cost is definitely huge, isn't it? You have to pay upfront, isn't it? So it could be for 50 servers, it could be for 100 servers. You have to pay upfront if you're managing your own data centers. When it comes to cloud, there is absolutely zero upfront cost. You don't have to pay anything. Whether you need 50 or 100 virtual machines, you can just provision them on the fly, use them, and pay them as you use, right? So the first benefit that you get is reduced cost, right? Second is fast provisioning. Now, how fast can you provision 1,000 servers in your on-premises data center? Do you have that capacity with you? If no, then how much time does it take for you to procure those 100 or 1,000 physical servers and get them to your data center. How much time is it going to take? You have to choose a vendor, you have to place an order, that order has to be passed on, and then customs, everything. It is going to take close to 3 months of time, minimum 3 months of time, if you have a good vendor to you, right? But what if tomorrow the demand increases from 100 to 1000? How fast those 1000 servers can be provisioned? Not going to meet your requirement, isn't it? But when it comes to cloud, the provisioning is extremely fast. Now you can just expand yourself or your application from few hundreds to few thousands of virtual machines. Or when it comes to storage, you can just expand your application need from few megabytes to a terabyte or to a petabyte. So this is the second best benefit that you get from the cloud computing, is fast provisioning. You don't have to wait, right? It is just few clicks or few pieces of code that you need to write, and then you have your resources ready. Number 3 is reliability. Now reliability, in terms of data reliability, let's take an example. So if you have an on-premises data center, right? If you have an on-premises data center and there is a business critical application which generates a business critical data, right? That data is stored within your on-premises data center storage account. It could be a sandbox, it could be a NAS, whatever you have. Now, how reliable is that particular storage? So before that, people might ask, how reliable is your data center? What if there is a power outage? What if there is a natural disaster? How secure, how reliable is your data in there, right? So maintaining that amount of reliability definitely incur huge cost. But when it comes to cloud, the reliability is the key factor for the cloud computing. These data centers, which the cloud vendors provide, they have millions of servers, right? They have been configured, they have been tweaked in a way that they can provide you data reliability and application reliability. So your data is copied and you get an SLA of 11 nines. That's the SLA that you get, right? So availability of your data. The second best part is you can access the data from anywhere across your world. You don't have to stick to one particular location. No, you can access that data from anywhere in the world, from any device, right? Number 4 is scalability. Now, just I gave an example initially. How can you scale from few hundreds to few thousands of virtual machines within your on-premises data center? What amount of resources you need to have, right? And to maintain those resources, how much cost is it's going to cost you? So tremendously, it will be higher end, right? But on cloud, it's few click. So right now you're running few hundred servers, make few clicks or write a piece of code, scale it from 100 to 1000, 1000 to 5000, just like that. And once your job is done, and if you want to reduce it back to your normal server count, which could be few hundreds, you can just scale down from 5000 to few hundreds. And the best part, you're only paying what you're using. So let's say from 100 to 5000, you scaled out and you have run that entire environment for 1 hour. After 1 hour, you're bringing that entire environment from 5000 to 100. So the charge that you'll be paying for those additional 4900 servers is just for 1 hour, which could be few cents or few dollars, right? So this scalability is very difficult to manage or to at least set it up within your on-premises data center. Number 5 is automation. On cloud, 99% of things are automated, mostly by the vendor themselves, plus the companies, the organizations who are shifting their workload to the cloud, they are automating this task. So the cloud computing is open for automation. There is no hard coding saying that, okay, you cannot automate these kind of things. No, there is nothing like that. You can automate almost anything in the cloud. It could be a VM provisioning, it could be an application uptime, a load balancer, a database, a storage account, anything. You can automate absolutely anything on the cloud. Most of the automation job is done by the vendor themselves. They provide you with those details. Few of them, you can write your own code. You can design your own automation scripts, right? So you don't need you don't need people or manual effort or manual persons doing these jobs for you. So if you need to provision few virtual machines overnight, you don't need people. You just write a piece of code, keep it there, let it run, schedule it, and it will provision those VM resources for you. So automation is one of the key benefits on cloud computing. The last one which I've listed here is on-demand self-service, right? So you get a portal. You don't have to depend on somebody. You get a portal, right? You don't have to talk to somebody on Microsoft IT team to provision the VMs for you. No, you don't require to do that. You get a full-blown portal, right, where you have everything available, right? All you need to do is choose what you need, select what you want for your application, build it. Build it as per your standard, as per your company's standard, right? So these are the 6 key benefits that are available with cloud computing. There are many other benefits available, but I thought these 6 needs to be in the deck. Any questions so far with these 6 benefits?
No, Sanjay, it's good.
Go ahead.
Okay. All right. So let's move to next slide. I know you must have seen this presentation numerous times, right? So any virtualization classes, any cloud computing classes, you'll definitely find this deck available there. So there are different cloud service patterns available in the market, right? So it could be AWS, Google, or Azure, right? You have these cloud platforms. So there are 3 popular models, you can call them, right? There are 3 popular patterns you can call, right? Or you can call them as cloud services, right? So different names people used to term them. So first one you have is infrastructure as a service. This is one of the cloud services that are available. Second is a platform as a service, and third is software as a service. So I guess you guys might be aware of these 3. But let me just ask you an example. So can somebody give me an example of software as a service?
Software as a service, like you mean for every software, like there will be a service, right, in the backend that need to be run, correct?
No. This is a cloud offering that I'm talking about, not an applications from not an application point, but from the cloud offerings. But from cloud offerings, you have a offering called software as a service, platform as a service, and infrastructure as a service. These are the 4 popular ones.
Your web application on a server on a cloud, that would be
Yes,
maybe
can you
only
mute if you're
one.
not speaking, please? Thank you. Yeah, Noah, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, if you are using web services for your website or for your so as a software, that kind of setup would be a software as a service. Then only one application, one type of application you are using on a cloud. That would be software as a, for example, your website, or you're using to test some kind of software. You're not using the whole different kind of software on a cloud.
Correct. Right. Thank you, Noah. So yeah, so we'll come to that example later. Now let's see what is an infrastructure as a service. So you guys have seen the data center, right? If you have been working into an organization, every organization has got a data center, right? So in a data center, what do you have? Right? You have resources, servers, storages, everything.
Yeah.
What do you call this? Is a data center, on-premises data center, isn't it? All right.
Yeah.
Now, whatever resources you have in this data center, you own, you manage, isn't it? You are completely, you're, what do you say? You say it 100% self-managed, right? So you as an IT administrator will be responsible to look after all these resources that are in the data center, right? So you'll take a note of the warranty information of the underlying physical service, right? You'll note down the connectivity issues, everything. You'll make sure that every resources is properly connected. Storage, you'll keep check on the disks, right? Storage consumptions, right? Patching of the servers, firmware upgrades, warranty recycles, all these things are taken care by you, isn't it? Then operating system installations, even that will be taken care by you. Patching those OSs, it is your responsibility, right? Installing middleware, you are owning it. Managing that middleware, still it is your responsibility. So end to end, within an on-premises data center, it is you as an IT administrator who's responsible to manage this infrastructure. So if tomorrow there is this server which is end of life, you need to replace this server, then you will just prepare a plan and retire that server, bring in a new server. Or there is a new firmware that needs to be installed on this particular server. You will do that. You'll own it, right? On this server, you need to refresh the OS. So let's say it is running 2008, or you're running some old version of Linux 5 or Linux 6, RHEL 6. You need to upgrade it to RHEL 7. It is your responsibility, right? You'll just do all those stuff by your own. So this entire infrastructure is your responsibility. And when I say your responsibility, you as an IT administrator or as an organization, that is called 100% owning the responsibility. Now, when it comes to cloud, things are a little different. There is a term called shared responsibility model. Now, on cloud, the responsibilities are shared. Shared between whom? Shared between whom? The vendor and the customer. Now, here the customer can be an organization. Okay, the responsibilities are shared between the vendor. The vendor will be, if you are choosing Azure, it will be Microsoft. If you're choosing Amazon Web Services, it will be Amazon. If you're choosing GCP, it will be Google. Anywhere, any cloud model, any cloud vendor, the shared responsibility model exists everywhere. No matter which vendor you choose, it could be Amazon, Microsoft, or GCP. So the responsibilities are now shared between you as a customer and the vendor. So what are these responsibilities, right? What are these responsibilities? So let's talk about one service, that is infrastructure as a service. Here, look at the purple boxes which says networking, storage, servers. Now, when I say servers, it is physical servers and the virtualization layer. This section is managed by the vendor. Here in Azure, it could be Microsoft. In Amazon, it is Amazon. In GCP, it is Google. So till this layer, it is their responsibility. So what does that mean? It means the underlying physical resources is managed by the vendor. So if tomorrow there is a life cycle, or if there is a server which is running out of warranty, you don't have to worry. The vendor will replace it without you or without your intervention. He will just give a notification saying that there is a maintenance schedule. If your VMs are running on that physical server, right, there is a maintenance schedule. Please move your VM to a different host. That kind of notification will come, but upgrading that retired hardware is a vendor's responsibility. You are no more worried about 3 years time frame. Okay, after 3 years I have to think how many servers are being retired, I need to refresh them. No, forget it. It is vendor's responsibility. Storage, if a disk is failing, it is the vendor's responsibility. They will update the disk. They will fix those disks. If the storage is running out of capacity, the vendor will look after that, and the vendor will expand the capacity. It will extend the capacity. They'll add more storage to it. So in this diagram, previous to this diagram, where you are maintaining everything, in this, the responsibility is shared now. So what is that I'm going to be responsible for? So the virtual machine which you launch inside the Azure, if you're launching a VM, a virtual server, now that virtual server is your responsibility, right? What OS patching on this OS patching is your responsibility. Maintaining the antivirus is your responsibility. Backing up this server is your responsibility. Securing this server from the service point, yes, it is your responsibility. So that way, with the cloud services, it is completely shared model responsible or shared responsibility model. So look at the blue boxes that falls under your responsibility models. It is operating system, middleware, runtime, data, and application. So let's say I'm choosing a Windows OS or Windows VM. I'm provisioning a Windows VM now. This is a Windows VM. So what is the OS I'm selecting? Windows operating system, right? What is the middleware I'm going to install? I'm going to install IIS on it. Then .NET framework, if my application is going to be .NET. If no, if it is going to be a Python based, Python, that's the middleware I'll install. Required binaries and libraries for my application, and then I'll actually run my application on this. And whatever data that is generated by my application is my responsibility. So these all fall under my responsibility model. Vendor has no control, absolutely zero control on all of these. So if you say, boss, my configuration is messed up, vendor is not going to help you on that. You did that. It is your portion of responsibility model. You fix it. If anything to do with the underlying hardware, then yes, the vendor will get involved and they will help you out. But if it is just to deal with your application, it is your side of theory, you have to manage it. Right? So this in infrastructure as a service, until the virtualization layer, it is vendors management, vendors responsibility. From OS to application, it is your responsibility as an organization. Are we clear? Which that is called infrastructure as a service. Are we good? Are we okay? Number 2 is platform as a service. Now you can see here in PaaS or platform as a service, the vendor's scope is little higher, right? Till runtime, it is managed by the vendor. So for example, Azure provides PaaS service, platform as a service. So let's say you are a developer, right? And you're a developer, you don't deal with servers, networking, storage, nothing. You're simply saying, boss, I'm a developer. I understand my code and my application. That's it. All I understand is my code and my application. I have nothing to do with servers, storage, networking. Forget it. I'm least bothered how they are configured. All I need is 100 MB RAM, right? Few CPU cycles or threads, and 10 GB or 100 MB disk space. And I would need a platform like Java. I need Java runtime to run my code, to run my application. This is all I need. How you provision it? I'm least bothered. So for a developer, PaaS is the offering which suits him, where he don't have to provision a server, he don't has to patch those server, he will really not be interested in installing antivirus, configuring the backup, all those stuff. He's least bothered. All he's worried is my code, my application. Now for that kind of customer, the offering is called platform as a service, where you deal with your application only and your application data. Now to run your application, you need a platform. Choose that platform. Is it a Java based platform, Python, Node.js, Ruby? What is your application being run on? Select that platform, deploy your code, use it. Right? So I'll give a generic example for this. Now, for example, how do we celebrate the functions? Now, in this Corona time, it is difficult to use that example, but in general, how do we celebrate our functions? Let's say there is a marriage function or a birthday function or a reception. What do we do? Do we build our own function halls? No, isn't it? We didn't build our function halls or banquet halls, right? We lease them out. We find who has that offering. All you will say is, boss, I have got 500 people or 500 guests coming in, and for them, this is the menu. This is what I want. So you'll choose a function hall or a banquet hall that can meet your requirement, and you will go and you will block that. Are you owning that function hall? No, you will just block it for few hours, isn't it? After that, it will be used by somebody else, right? So platform as a service is something like that. More, if you want me to give another generic example is, for example, the food we eat, right? So all we say is, mom, just feed me. You are least bothered how your mother is preparing it. All you're worried is you need to get that in your plate, sit, you finish your meal. How that meal is prepared, you're not owning it. It is somebody else, like your mother, your wife, or your sister, they are doing it. You never feel interested in what all ingredients are being made, put into that, how long it has been cooked, right? And what is the pattern to cook that? No, you are just there to eat. You get a plate full of meal, you eat it. A platform as a service is very similar to that. You are just focused on your code, your application. If your application is Python based, you will choose the Python based platform. If it is Ruby based, you'll go with that. If it is .NET, similarly. There, your responsibility is very minimal. Just make sure that the data of your application is secure, the application itself is secure. That is your responsibility. Take care of your application. Rest everything is vendor's responsibility. The VM, the patching, the antivirus, the backup, everything will be taken care by the vendor. Coming to software as a service. A software as a service is what we call as consume or consumer based. You have absolutely nothing to do in that service model. You are a consumer. For example, Gmail. Do you really care how many servers are running behind to make sure your Gmail service is up and running? You don't, isn't it?
Right.
All you are worried about as a customer or a consumer is whether I'm able to send and receive email. Yes, that's all. Finish. Number two, are you defining the outlook? I mean, are you defining how the Gmail should behave or how the Gmail should look and feel? No, there is very few, or I can hardly say there is nothing that you can do in your Gmail other than the ready-made or built-in themes, pages, or config settings that has been offered to you. You can only use them. You cannot design your own for that Gmail, isn't it? You are a consumer. So the software as a service is more like a consumer based. For example, Office 365, Gmail, SharePoint, right? Your Flipkart, Amazon, Hotmail, right? These are all consumable products. You're consumer for them. You're not making anything there. You're not defining anything there. All you're doing is you're consuming it. So that is software as a service. Platform as a service is more for developers. Is more for developers who write code, test their code, build their code, and develop their application. Infrastructure as a service is for more than, it's more for IT administrators who do the core IT administration job, like server provisioning, storage provisioning, patching the servers, installing the middlewares, managing them, right? Infrastructure services for those kind of people. They interact more into that. So IT administrators, infrastructure as a service, developers, platform as a service, and consumers, that is for everybody or anybody, software as a service. Now, where does Azure fits in here? Where does Azure fits in here? All three services? Yes, it does. It offers you infrastructure and service. That means you can build your servers, you can manage your servers, you can play around with your servers, or there is also PaaS offerings from Azure. You can just pick up the runtime, develop your code, build your application, host them, or you can consume certain services, right? So hope this was okay. I'm not going too deep here, but let me know if it is bouncing.
Clear.
Right?
Clear.
All right. So let's move. So that brings up to our main curriculum. What is Azure and where does this Azure fits in? Is it an infrastructure as a service or what? So your Azure is basically a comprehensive set of services that enable you to build, host, and scale your applications in Microsoft data center or data centers. So if you're provisioning a virtual machine, you're provisioning it in one of the Microsoft data centers, not anywhere else. It is one of the Microsoft data centers. If you're building an application, you're building it one of the data centers of Microsoft. Okay, so you have Azure is termed as open and flexible cloud platform. Now I'll tell why it is termed as open, but it is more flexible cloud platform where you can choose what you need, right? There is no dictatorship saying that this is all that we have and this is how you have to use. No, it is not like that. They have a specific set of services which you can use and define your own applications, or you can define your own infrastructure the way you want it to happen. It's very flexible. You can build, you can deploy, and you can manage applications globally. Why I said go globally? Because these Microsoft data centers, they are spanned across the world. They're not just at one particular location. No, there are thousands of data centers spanning across the world. They have got footprint across 140 countries. 140 countries. So that's the global network of Microsoft Azure. You can pick any of these 140 countries to host your application, or you can scale your applications across multiple countries, multiple regions, multiple geographies. You can pick them wherever you want. So for example, you're developing an application that would let the consumers or the users to order food. Let's say the application is more focused on pizzas, right? Burgers, French fries, and all those, what do you say, frozen items, right? So where do you see the customers for this kind of product? Or pizzas and burgers, where are they popularly found? Or who are the most consumers for them? Any guesses? Which region, which country? Is my question clear? Do you want me to reframe it?
Yeah,
Can you reframe? Yeah.
Okay, my question is, for example, you are developing an application for food, right? Food product. Your application will let the users to order pizza, burgers, donuts, fries, and all .kfc kind of a thing, right? Everything is available in that one app. Now customers can choose that and order it. Now for this, the target audience, who are the target audience, or which country do you think you'll have more number of target audience?
People whoever like eat, they are the audience, like they're the target audience. Like we don't have any count for that. Like anyone can eat that, right?
But where is that most popularly used? Anybody eats it, but the target
Yeah,
audience count
in
matters,
US.
right?
Yeah,
In US.
yeah,
So from US, you will expect more number of audiences coming to that kind of app, right?
correct.
Where they can order it and they can eat it. So in that way, you would like to have the server to be launched in the US region, isn't it? So that it can get closer to the target audience, right? And Microsoft data center is there in US region. So if you're developing an app, want to host it in US region, where you will try to keep it closer to the target audience. Now let's say you're launching an app for idli dosa, right?
Yeah,
It's for idli dosa. Now the target audience will be mostly on the South India side.
correct.
So there is no fun keeping that application in US region. Rather, you'll keep that application closer to the South India where you have the data centers. Now, Azure data centers are available in India as well. Mumbai, Chennai, right? These are the regions where you find these data centers. So you'll try to host your application closer to the target audience. Now, the advantage you get with hosting your application closer to the target audience is performance. That's the first thing that you get. There is a very minimal latency, a high performance. Now, why I gave you this example is your Microsoft data center is spread across 140 countries. You can choose any of these places to host and run your service.
Okay.
Number 3, build your application using any tool or framework. Now, Azure allows you to develop your application from n number of runtime, n number of languages. You have Python, JBoss, you can use Java, you can have Node.js, .NET, Ruby. You name them, you have it on Azure. So you can use any of these framework, any of these language tools to develop your application. And then you can integrate your public cloud with your existing IT environment. Let's say you have a on-premises data center, right? And then you have a certain services on Azure cloud. You can integrate these two. You can integrate these two, public cloud and a on-premises data center, giving it a hybrid model. So these are the offerings that you can get from Azure. So as I was talking about the global infrastructure of Azure, you can see how widely it is spread, right? So the dark blue circles are the available regions. That means there the data center is already in place. The dotted ones are the upcoming regions or announced regions. So in India, you have West India, Central India, and South India. So Pune, Mumbai, and then you have Chennai. These are 3 locations where the Microsoft data centers are there, or Azure data centers are there, to be more specific. Look at the US side of things. How many you have? Pretty much most of the popular cities are covered here in US side. Look at Europe, right? So this is the global infrastructure for Azure data center. So you can handpick any of these regions to host your application in Azure. So initially, as I said, there are 150 plus services available in Azure. And Azure has categorized those services into compute, networking, storage, web and mobile, databases, intelligence analytics, IoT, and many more. What Azure has done is all those 150 plus services, they have beautifully categorized it so that it will be easy for the customer to navigate or to search or to provision the services, right? Now I said Azure is open and flexible, right? So this is what I meant by open and flexible. Generally, Microsoft has got this trademark that they only use their own proprietary products. They don't promote the open platform. But Azure has got everything for open platform, from Node.js to PHP to Python to SUSE Linux to Red Hat to Ubuntu. You can run any open platform on Azure or any open source on Azure. It supports everything. So, any questions so far before I can just quickly give you a 5 minutes demo tour on Azure portal?
Yeah, sure, Sanjay. Like it's very good.
It's good.
Okay.
Yeah, clear.
All right, then I'll just show you a quick demo on the portal. All right, so this is how the portal will look once you log in with your Azure credentials or Microsoft credentials, right? You can look here. These are the favorite panes where you will see all the services. But the best thing is the categories. You can see if you go to all services, look at the categories that Azure has categorized, right? So the list is huge. If you go to compute category, you have all these services that you can provision and use on Azure portal. So for example, if you want to go with a virtual machine, containers, right? Container instances you can choose, disks, if you want to go with Kubernetes services, Citrix, huge list is there. So under compute category, you have 36 services that you can use. You go to storage, you have 15 services within storage category, where the popular one you will find is the storage accounts, right? And then you have data lake, right? You can use any of these services. Now they're categorized under storage. Similarly, if you go to databases, look at this. There are 19 supported databases in Azure, from SQL Server, right? From MariaDB, okay, and from to Azure SQL. You can also use data factories and Azure Cache for Redis. You can use that. All these different services or the similar services have been categorized beautifully so that the consumers or the organizations, they can just navigate them to understand their need. Okay, if I need to provision a database, what all I have? Okay, these are the offerings that are there from Azure, right? So that way it will be easy for them to choose the service, the right service for their application, right? Now DevOps, we have DevOps. You can also search a service if you know the service here. So for example, I want to go with projects or, okay, let me go with, right. So you can go with DevOps starter here or organization here. You can search with virtual machines like this or virtual network. You can get that with network as well, right? Then you can choose storage and you can search from here. Okay. So one beautiful thing which Azure has got is called this Cloud Shell, right? Cloud Shell command. Guys, can you mute if you're not listening, please?
So what is that? What is that, Sanjay?
Yeah. So Cloud Shell is one of the unique offering from Azure that enables you to run the CLI commands from the portal itself.
Okay. Okay. Got it.
Generally, what happens is you have to install the CLI on one of the jump boxes or one of the laptops, right? From there, you have to run these things. But now the Cloud Shell offering, you just run the commands here from them. You can see what commands you can run here. See all these commands. So before this, what was the IT administrators used to do is they used to install the SDKs on their laptop, and from their laptop they used to manage the Azure portal. But now the Cloud Shell offering gives you that advantage to run those commands from the portal itself.
Okay.
Right. So yeah, that's pretty much rest everything we can take care in our main session. But Any questions on the topics that we have covered today, or any other questions related to cloud or Azure?
Yeah. So anyway, like AWS, I think like it's very much boom. So why the client will prefer Azure, Sanjay? So already like AWS is offering everything, and it's vast in the market, correct? So why the
Hmm.
clients will prefer Azure?
Okay, that's a very good question. Now, there are many things that make Azure more advanced than AWS, said to that, but it is again very much related to the specific need of a customer. Now, when you talk about Azure and when you compare with AWS, there are many services that are much better enhanced, user friendly, and cost effective when it comes to AWS. Now, one example that I will give here is, for example, the Windows instances that you're launching. Uh, per second billing is what Azure offers. So if you're launching any Windows VMs, Azure offers you per second billing. That means if you run it for 45 seconds, you pay only for 45 seconds. In AWS, Windows VM is per minute billing. So even though if you run for 45 seconds, you pay it for 60 seconds.
Oh, okay.
That's number one. So cost effective. Linux is absolutely again per second billing in both the vendors offer you. But when it comes to PaaS, or this is where the Azure leads. PaaS offering is extremely good in Azure, and more than interconnectivity, I'll call it as or you can call it as what's it, compatibility with existing Microsoft products. So if you have existing Microsoft products, Azure is simply compatible. I mean, you don't have to think much migrating your workload from your on-premises to Azure. When it comes to AWS, there's so many other complications involved, so many conversion factors you have to take care before you can move it to AWS environment. But when it comes to moving a SharePoint or Exchange or a Windows server from Azure to, from on-premises to Azure, it is very simple. The compatibility is simply great with Azure products. So these are the few points which I would see why the customer will be interested in going to Azure. Number one is cost. Number two, compatibility with their existing products. Number three, service offerings. Now there are so many service offerings in Azure. For example, projects, DevOps. It is extremely simple if you want to deploy an application through a CI/CD pipeline, or even if you want to do a standalone deployment. Azure is much simpler when it compares to AWS. And these are the few things why the customer would be definitely looking into Azure when it comes to AWS. Now, and from infrastructure as a service point of view, AWS still has a leading edge, right? They release their new services very frequently. They are customer focused, where if you put a feature request that okay, I'm looking at this. For example, there was one request which customers have raised that there is certain problem with reporting functionality, right? AWS constantly work on those kind of feature requests, and they try to bring in those features as early as possible. That's one beautiful thing which AWS has got. They listen to their customers feedback and also the feature request, and they try to bring in those new requirements or new feature sets very quickly when it comes compared to Azure. But other than that, definitely Azure has got the leading edge with respect to PaaS, with respect to the deployment and compatibility with existing Microsoft products. It is the best. Yeah. Any other questions?
Yes, Sanjay. Oracle offer bring your own license product. How about the Azure? Is this provide the bring your own license product? I mean,
Yes, Azure allows you to bring your own licenses. Now, the license can be OS license or application licenses like SQL Server. So yes, you have the feature where you can choose. For example, I'll quickly show you that. The cost will also reduce if you bring in your own licenses. So if you're provisioning a new virtual machine, right? Look at this here. Would you like to use an existing Windows Server license? Yes or no? If you say yes, look at the saving percentage that you get. Close to 50% you get the saving.
Okay.
So bring your own licenses is available in Azure from OS point as also through the application. Let's say you have exchange licenses, SQL licenses. Yes, you can bring them, and you'll get a close to 40 to 49% discount on the costing.
Great. Yeah.
Yep. Any other questions?
So Azure, like say for example, if I want Linux VM, so that is possible, right? So I can create an instance, right? Like some EC2 or EC3, some instance using the Linux. We can do that,
See,
right?
you have Red Hat 8.2, SUSE Linux is there, but this is not just all that you'll see. If you click on the public and private images, right? Look at the list you have here.
Okay. And what is the license cost, Sanjay? Like, if I want to say, for example, in AWS, okay, for EC2 instance, like they'll be charging this much. So in Microsoft Azure, like how much they're gonna charge if I want to build one Linux VM, okay, and then like I want to install some kind of OBI or some kind of Informatica, something like if I want to launch in EC2 instance, how much they're gonna charge in Azure?
This is what the pricing model looks like. It depends on the instance type that you have selected. So just like in AWS, you have EC2 instance types. In Azure, you have VM instance types, right? So it depends on instance type, depends on what OS you are selecting and storage. So if you are choosing 300 GB or 300 GB disk size, you'll be charged according to that. And if you choose 30 GB, you'll be charged according to that. Instance type, if you go with four vCPUs and 16 GB RAM, that will be a different cost. When it comes to 424 GB RAM, you can go up to that, right? If you're going more than 400 GB RAM VM, you'll be charged according to that. So it is all on the instance type that you select, the OS that you select, and the storage.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Okay, and like AWS, like they're giving for 1 year free trial, right? So Azure also they're giving like that 1 year free trial.
Okay, so to learn Azure, Azure free trial is there. Now this is not like AWS. You get only for 30 days. That's one. Plus you get $200 worth services. Trust me, it is more than enough for you to learn.
Okay.
So you got a 30 days. After 30 days, what will happen? After 30 days, your account will be deactivated.
Okay.
Your account will be deactivated. You will not be charged. But to create this free trial, you need to have valid email and credit card.
Okay.
But you will be only charged if you're using Indian credit cards, you'll be charged ₹2, and it will be charged $1 if you're using the US credit cards.
Okay.
And that $1 will also be, I mean, I'm not sure, but they will return that $1 as well after verification. So that's just a card verification.
Got it. Yeah, that's true. Okay. So and what about the certification? Certifications like Sanjay, like if you want to do certifications, so it is how much like they're gonna charge Azure, like Microsoft gonna charge for the certifications?
So Azure 104 certification, they charge. So I guess this is what you are going to apply. So this will be 165 USD as on date, because I always look at this document because they keep changing it, they keep updating it, right? So
also, Sanjay, there is a schedule for USD $15. I checked it. It will charge you $15, but I'm not sure whether it would be with a person or it should be some other kind of setup.
No, I'm not sure. This is something new. That's why I said this is something new which they are charging additional. But if you have a student, this one, then you can also get a discount on this price. you can reach out to the Microsoft Learning page. I can share those things, and you can then schedule it. You can get some discount on this price. But otherwise, it's 165 plus 15 USD.
Okay.
And there is one more thing I was checking it. If you attend any webinar of the Azure, then you can take this exam for free. But I'm not sure about the
those webinars keep. I mean, they keep informing the customers. But again, it's not 100% that they will be giving it every month or every quarter. But yes, there are certain webinars that offers you. Again, there are certain webinars which offers you credits. So as I said, right, you get $200, but there are some who gives you $50 to $100 credits also. You can use that as well. But again, you need to keep a watch for those webinars. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Clear.
All right. Any other questions?
No, Sanjay, I'm good.
All right. Fine then. No questions, and you can give a feedback to them, and then we'll hope to see you in our future sessions.
Sure, sounds good.
All right. Thank you very much, Sanjay.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, Sanjay, for joining the session. Yeah. Thank you, guys. I'm closing the session.
Yeah.
Prakash, please go ahead and close the session. Thank you.